I think the price of music gear is going to increase. I think it's inevitable. I will tell you why I think it's inevitable, and I will tell you who is responsible. I'll tell you that now because you are responsible. Maybe not you, but you and probably you and yes, me as well. We share a collective responsibility in this. We are like turkeys gobbling up the good food as we head towards Christmas or Thanksgiving if we are American turkeys. So I'll tell you what's been happening and how I interpret it and how I think this is inevitable. So I'm in the UK in the first half of 2025, which is when I'm making this video. I think over 20 music stores have closed down. The most recent was PMT, Play Music Today, which was originally called Professional Music Technology. I think whoever came up with those names missed the acronym class at school. But this was my local friendly music store. I knew the guys in the shop. It is a while since I visit them because of these. I really can't make best use of music hardware, but they're really good bunch of guys that knew what they were talking about. They were experts. PMT had 11 music shops and a warehouse, so all those employees have lost their job. I feel incredibly sorry and very, very sad for them all. But not just PMT. A few months ago, GAK Guitars, Amplifiers and Keyboards, I think it stands for, they closed down, Backs closed down. If we go back just another month to November last year, a music retailer who had been in my local city for over 100 years closed down. Now, I'm sure this is not a UK phenomenon. What I would ask you to do, if you would be so kind, would be to see if you have a local music store. By local, I mean the store which is closest to you, which you would go to, assuming it is close enough for you to visit your local music store. Have any local music stores closed down recently? I'd be interested to know. I do know some have closed in America, because I do speak to one or two Americans on occasion, but even on an American basis and certainly a worldwide basis, I would like to know if the phenomenon of music shops closing is worldwide. Now, certainly in the UK, I know that the retail sector as a whole is having a bit of a hard time of it, and some big name brands, big name shops and companies have closed down over the years. Now, getting back to the music shops for a moment, why have these shops been closing down? Now, you might think, well, it's young producers these days that just sit in the bedroom with a laptop and churn out hit after hit. I don't think that is it at all. It may be part of it, but these companies were selling gear. PMT, for example, had sales, I believe, of over £40 million. But when they took the expenses into consideration, they were not making any profit. How is that possible? Well, you probably know the answer to that. It is because of competition from online sales. Now, most of these music shops have their own online division as well, but it's not just the fact that it's online, it's how much or how little can you sell the stuff for and still survive. And these music shops were competing with online warehouse sales. Now, if you imagine the cost of renting a high street shop, it is phenomenally expensive just keeping the lights on, and then you have staff to pay, stock to buy, and so on. Now, if you rent a warehouse, you could probably get a warehouse 10 times the size of a retail shop. You can buy in bulk from manufacturers, thereby getting a better discount, buying lower, and you can sell for a lower price than the high street stores. You might need one or two people in the business who know a little bit about music, but most of the work is going to involve sticking labels on boxes and shipping them out the door. In the UK anyway, we call this sort of operation box shifters. Stack them high, sell them cheap. So some savvy business person obviously realised that there is money to be made from musical equipment, and they could make more money shifting boxes in this way than they could setting up a retail store. So by buying from these box shifters, by not buying from the music stores, we are collectively responsible for their demise. Now, this is not a blame game video. We are consumers because we buy things and it is our job to get the best price we can. Now, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I've been quite vocal, particularly about the price of music software, but also about music hardware. If I think something is just a really silly price, I will tend to call it out, such as Korg's Up 6 SE, which was launched at such a stupidly ridiculous price. I made a video about that. Of course, I'm sure some people, sadly, I'm going to say, bought one at these prices, but it didn't take Korg long to half the price. The other one, of course, and the one I get the most stick for, is Moog's Mini Moog. It's continually re-releasing the Mini Moog at $5,000 and $5,500. Now, I don't mind companies making a profit. Companies have to make a profit. If they didn't make a profit, they wouldn't exist. We wouldn't get all the toys to play with. But there is a difference between companies trying to make a fair profit and trying to extort the greatest amount of money they can from their fan base. Yes, of course, I made a video too about that. So please don't comment about those things in this video. If you want to comment about them, comment in the relevant videos. That is not what this video is about. So let's get back to the music situation. So what we see happening over certainly this month and just over the years, music shops, independent music shops as well, they're getting fewer and fewer and fewer. So what is going to happen? So that's only a bit of a rhetorical question. You may know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. So what happens when all we have left are music wholesalers, box shifters, and there is no competition from music stores? Well, the savvy person who started these businesses will be looking at the environment and thinking, well, gosh, we've been cutting prices and the music stores have disappeared now, so we don't have to cut our prices anymore. Yeah, so they're going to increase the prices. And this is what tends to happen in, I think, many businesses. The less competition you have, the more you can charge for your product and get away with it. And this happens a lot in business or corporate business. A lot of these companies are owned by investment companies. And as you might guess from the name, their number one priority is to make money. So if their competition disappears, what do you think they're going to do? Now, at the beginning, I said I thought this was inevitable, and that is simply because the way business and these companies work. You will certainly be aware that over the years, many companies, not necessarily just in the music business, but many companies have bought other companies and amalgamated and joined up to produce ever bigger and bigger corporations. And as companies get bigger and bigger, they acquire a bigger and bigger monopoly of whatever it is they are producing. In the UK, we have what I think is a government department called the Monopoly and Mergers Commission, and they will look at two companies who are planning either to take over each other or to merge or amalgamate, and they look at whether this is going to be a good thing or how it might affect the consumer. And in some cases, they come to the conclusion, no, this would not benefit the consumer at all because it will reduce the amount of competition. Yes, competition is good for consumers because it means companies have to obviously operate at a profit, but also keep their prices competitive. But in other cases, they do allow these mergers to go ahead, and not always, I think, to the best interest of the consumer. But in the wider scheme of things, these music companies are just little minnows floating around in a gigantic pond, so they are very unlikely to come under the auspices of the Monopoly and Mergers Commission. And musical instruments, after all, are a luxury item. So that is why I think this process was inevitable. It's just the way business works, or at least business in our free society. And it is also why I think we are collectively responsible for it. So let me know what you think. Is my logic and my deductions and conclusions reasonable, inevitable, or have I made a miscalculation somewhere? It would be nice to think I have, but at the moment, at any rate, I don't think I have, but I am certainly open to being proved wrong, and I would hope someone can do that. So do let me know in the comments. So a sad state of affairs, but one I think is interesting and relevant to all of us who are interested in hardware and synthesizers and lovely stuff like that. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I will see you again in the next video.